Okay, well, thank you. I want to make sure and start by saying this is kind of dense because I tried to get everything, all the steps we've done to get to where we are now in there, and it can be kind of confusing. So if you have any quick questions, just let me know. So here's our, this is actually materials we've sorted on our sort line to start. And I don't know if everybody's aware, since this is kind of a national conference, the University of California system is really working hard to get to zero waste by 2020. It's kind of a directive for all the campuses, and we're all kind of working together in different areas to get there as fast as we can. For the UC system, zero waste is 95%, not the international standard of 90, but so it's 5 extra for, I don't know why, but we do. Okay, so also this has kind of been building steam on our own campus. Fiscal year 2013, 2014, we actually had reduced waste as the Chancellor's Sustainability Challenge. They had speakers come and things of that sort. And unfortunately, our diversion rate actually got worse. We actually went down to 62 from roughly 70. So it's a tough battle that we continue to go for, even when we have help from politically. Okay, so another kind of what could be seen as a setback is that in the last year and a half, we actually had one of our major spaces kind of, we were evicted from this barn. This barn was lucky enough to get a donor to grant the money to remodel it. It's going to go to the Center for Agroecology and Sustainable Food Systems, if anybody's heard of that in Santa Cruz. It's a very wonderful program, and they're lucky enough they're going to have a brand new building in a couple of years. Or they're going to have a remodeled historic building. But that evicted us from a 2-acre plot that we use to manage a lot of our materials. We don't really have very many permanent spots on campus at all. And this was one of the places that were somewhat permanent. So we immediately had to start thinking big. And to the credit of our physical planning and construction administrators, they actually saw this as an opportunity. And they, namely the campus planner and architect, both, and they reserved funding for relocation of our management yard. And they came to us directly and said, hey, this is your opportunity to really build a zero waste infrastructure to help us get there. You know, you don't think of this as just getting moved. Think about your long-term goals. And that's what it looks like today. So they're actually well on their way after on construction. I took that like 2 days ago. So it's going to be a handsome project. And So like they always tell you to do, what's the first thing you're supposed to do if you want to know what you need to do for zero waste? You do a waste audit. So almost exactly a year ago this month, we did a campus-wide waste audit. We sampled about 40% of our dumpsters on campus and randomly selected. And this was our the results from that audit. So the red 39.1% that you see on the right-hand side of the bigger circle, that's actually the breakdown, to the right of that is actually the breakdown of that trash. So in our audit, we found we're about 61%, which actually matches our year-end 62% diversion. So that was a nice result. But we found that of the materials that we can sort out of that existing trash, that food scrap / compostable element of almost, that's 36% almost of the entire trash, existing trash, we don't have a way of processing it. It's what we would call post-consumer organics, and if it doesn't come from the kitchens largely, especially at the time of this audit, we have no options for the users of the campus. So we found that if we were able to process that material, we could actually get ourselves to about 88% campus-wide, which would be a huge leap if everyone's source separated correctly, et cetera, et cetera. And if you look on the bottom half of this left-hand side of the slide, you can see that it's right at 50% of the entire campus material stream is compostable organics, which include kitchen waste, green waste, and these post-consumer. Another thing, how would we usually like to think about, well, we could get to 88 there. How would we get to actual 95? On the right-hand side, we would try to start sorting out our foil wrappers and our disposable gloves and aseptics and find new vendors for that. But we may end up with a situation where we need to start thinking about procurement after we get to that level. We need to start not bringing it to campus in the first place. So, but still, 88 would be a wonderful change. Okay, so what do I mean by post-consumer organics? This is what I mean. We've actually started collecting some post-consumer organics on campus in a pilot project. And this is what it is. The top is what you usually get from bins that are, on the sidewalks or street, that are pedestrian friendly. And then the bottom is a little more mixed from our cafes, not the kitchen, like the hardcore kitchens, but more like the cafe settings, the kitchenettes in the offices, etc. And this material is extremely hard to find a vendor that will take it. I have called literally every composting facility that takes material from someone like us and asked them if they would take it, and only one was would even kind of think of the idea. The Monterey Regional Material, the facility in Marina that's run by the Monterey District, they were more open to us because we already take so much kitchen scraps to their facility. Okay, so now that we had our audit done, we can think, okay, big picture, 2020, what is it going to look like what are our streams going to look like? And you can see, to get to 2020, our refuse, that red line, needs to go, in a linear fashion down to about 200 tons or less of refuse delivered to landfills to get to 95%. And then you notice the total diversion has to go up, but almost all that total diversion that we need to make up comes from the food waste organics, post-consumer organics. I mean, this is the critical link to getting to our goals. And then, so after we had our audit, after we had our goals, we went straight, we had a lot of questions. Even though the UC system requires that we reach 2020, they really haven't given us any other monies to do so. So we're always trying to figure out how we're going to pay for the system, what are we going to do. So we did a business plan for some alternatives. First, we had never really done a holistic plan of what we're doing now. So we wanted to use this opportunity to do all this analysis and really get a good scope of what our operations cost in comparison to what we are getting from our budgets, from both the state budget and what we call recharge customers. One thing I want to say is that the status quo for our campus is we have 3 front-loading trucks, we have 2 roll-off boxes, we have 4 box trucks, we have roughly 300 dumpsters that are serviced that include refuse, cardboard, and mixed recycle. We have nearly 2,000 pedestrian bins between 30 and 90 gallons each that collect recyclable materials. That doesn't include our refuse trash cans on campus. That's simply the recyclables. Trying to think what else. We have our own sort line that we run on our own. We sort right now between 1/3 and 2/3 of materials. In order for our sort line to be in the black, we need to sort everything that comes off campus, which would be about 3 sessions per week. So that's kind of what we're doing now and we're working on. The second alternative we did is an all-refuse alternative to see what it would cost in some other place that doesn't require recycling. And then third, we want to do a status quo with a single-stream recycle, as if we had no sort line. And then we did 4 what we would call zero-waste alternatives. We looked at sorting, still continue to sort the recyclables and having a compost system on campus. Then we had a single-stream recycle plus a compost on campus. And we did a vendor composting plus sorted recycle, and then a single-stream recycle with vendor composting. So we kind of went through the 4 options available that we felt would be possible. Before I move on, I want to make sure that everyone understands that we have been extremely aggressive about about innovating the hauling industry, because right now we have roughly 11 full-time employees that run all these operations, and we've kind of been given a cap that we need to stick with that. So we've started invested in technology to help us maximize our labor and maximize our efficiency with the actual projects. So in 2011, 2012, we actually installed our first onboard fork scales so that we could actually move to a weight-based system for collection to at least test it out. And now we have all three trucks have fork scales, so we can weigh every load that comes in. And we also added sensors. First, we did a prototype sensor on a dumpster. Now we have sensors on about 1/3 of our campus dumpsters. And then, so what we end up with is a real deep knowledge of the data. We have a real deep data knowledge, I guess, of the campus. We have sensor data on how much volume is actually in each dumpster when it's picked up, those that are censored. We know the actual weight when it's picked up. And then we have a driver log of when they're picked up. So we can kind of have a redundant system of knowledge, so to speak. And that helps help us plan out how our business, if our business planning is correct, and also if we can make positive adjustments. So this is the result of our alternative analysis, our business analysis. We we have our 7 alternatives we talked about. We have the first 3, which are status quo discussions. 4, 5, 6, and 7 are actually alternatives that would meet zero waste. 4 and 6 were actually the only two that we could possibly, wait, is that right? Yeah, 4 and 6 are the two that we could actually get zero waste because we don't really have any vendors that would take all of our post-consumer organics. So those are really the only two options. And 4 is the sort line, and 6 is not the sort line. And we actually believe that we do a better job as campus stewards with the sort line and managing all our campus needs there. And also we get the income from that. We thought it was interesting after we did the analysis that if we actually had the city of Santa Cruz do what we do now, just the status quo, it would almost double our costs as a unit if they were the ones actually hauling for us. And they're basically our only option. Now we are wanting to move to a weight-based system. We think we will in the next fiscal year. But since we've maintained a volumetric system, a traditional hauling paradigm or system, we've actually seen that our costs have increased because we have to continue to keep picking up basically empty dumpsters that we know that could be lighter. A lot of your volumetric system is going on tradition rather than being on a data-driven. So we think that going to a data-driven, weight-based system is going to save us money and make it so that we can largely pay for the zero-waste system with our existing resources. So the bottom left is our sort line. The top is the waste audit, and the bottom right is just one of the in-vessel aerobic systems that are available on the market. So I think it's really important. This really drove a lot of our discussion. I don't know if anybody expected all this business stuff, but we were really intense about this because the data and the thinking about the money issues really drove us to really say, yes, we can move forward with an actual capital improvement, right? So the thing I think is important to see this is that very bottom line, the cash flow. We're a recharge. We're supposed to not make any money. We can't save any money, and we can't really make any money as an arm of the campus. So we have to be right at the line. And I did all of the analysis based on the time from now until 2020. So overall, we will be barely above the line. But if you notice from July 2016 to July 2018, we need to be ready for negatives. We're going to be in the red probably for a couple of years until we have the infrastructure paid for, we have all the bins built, installed, and we have some of the equipment paid off. The roll-off boxes, trucks are the things that will alleviate in 2019 and make it so we actually are in the black. Okay, so we had a business model, we have an audit. Now we can go to site selection and feasibility plan. We actually brought on consultants to help us with this. We have the Clements, he was in the last session, I believe, and then their firm helped us with the waste engineering or the engineering plans. And we had Janicki and Associates, which is a local landscape architect firm. They had to choose between two sites that we had kind of narrowed down from, almost a dozen sites. This north remote and the bowl. You can kind of see what the campus looks like for once. I should have brought more pictures. Anyway, and they ended up after about, 6 months, 9 months, we came up with a consolidated material recovery and facility and compost feasibility study. They put it all together in one big document, and it's funny because I'm trying to make this a linear process and discussion or a narrative, but to be honest, it was like a big sandwich. We did everything kind of on top of each other, and they were kind of reacting to each other, and it was kind of chaotic at times, but as we got to the end, all of them became kind of refined documents, And this, too, kind of reflected our business planning and what we were hoping to do with the actual recycle yard. And here we finally get some drawings. They have section views of what a recycle yard would look like and how it worked, but we are kind of moving away from the windrow model and going to more of a in-house, like in-vessel composting type systems, because for various reasons. So that's what it looks like, or that's what we've got so far. I wanted to make sure and kind of show off or to really express how important it was to keep good lines of dialogue between your own crews. A lot of times it feels like you want to plan for the labor, the people working for you, but our guys are extremely talented, I think, and have been the best resource for actually thinking about how we can move forward to a zero waste scenario. We have thrown all kinds of technology on them, and they've been very tolerant, and they've told us when it doesn't work and when it does work and how it works. And this is a picture of us when we got the California Higher Education Sustainability Conference's Best Management Practice Award for innovative waste reduction. Sorry, it's a lot to say. We got that last year, and it was nice because they tolerate me sitting there telling me, well, we're going to put sensors on this, we're going to do that, and they may grimace, but then they're our best resource for success. It's been awesome. Okay, so the big question everyone came at us with was, why aren't you doing AD? You know, and it's fine. This is the Davis facility. I think it's already up and running, and they do 50 tons a day. For our maximum use, we're probably going to be around 10 to 11, 12 tons a day of material, and that's if we're on a truncated 9-month schedule. Whereas in Davis, they have all that animal product. You know, they have animal things, and we don't. They have a lot of space, and they're also going to try to service Yolo County and City of Davis. If anybody else, Davis is in Northern California. They have a big ag school, and it's a big university. Anyway, and you know, for them, I think it really works. For us, the material that would produce methane or would produce natural gas is already getting processed at a local AD facility. So we wouldn't really have a real net gain of methane from our use of an AD on campus, because most of the materials we have to put in the AD, the new materials, are all carbon-based and they're not really wanted. That's why none of the vendors want our material, because we're not going to add any actual value to their methane process, really. We're just going to gum it up. So what are we doing between now and 2020 when we don't have a recycle yard? Well, I wanted to express this too, finding partnerships in the region to help you get there, because we can't do all this overnight, is really nice. The Monterey Regional Waste Management District, they have their own AD. They have been like really, really helpful in helping us move forward as a campus towards the zero waste goals. I mean, usually they will help us in any way. The main way they've helped us is we've asked for about 51 tons of allowance per year of this post-consumer organics, and they said, yes, you can do about 50 tons if you keep bringing your food waste to us, because we like it so much. So I think that was real important in our process to find these kind of partners. They're not the only one, but they've been the most helpful, I guess, or critical. And the way that they deal with it, we started just bringing the post-consumer organics there and just dumping it, and they didn't really like that because it doesn't fit their definition of food waste. So instead, what we've done is operationally, we have 2 roll-off trucks, and they go in tandem the 40 miles down to Marina, and they dump both our existing food waste stream and the post-consumer organics at the same time, and then they kind of mix it there a little bit and then move on. So that's another key kind of being nimble about how you get there from here is another thing that we found has been challenging but helpful. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, so why did we need the 50 tons of post-consumer organics? We did a full pilot study at McHenry Library. McHenry Library is a large, library. It has a full cafe, an outside restaurant actually runs a cafe in this facility. And we did everything the way we want to do it, or we think we want to do it. We have full waste stations throughout the entire building that you can see on the top right. We have exterior waste stations like we're testing, and we're trying to see which ones are the best, but we have them available. We have all 4 streams. We have clean paper, container recycling, organics, and waste. And they're all serviced by both custodial staff and our grounds staff together. We're working together. And if you see, I think early November 1 or about is when we actually installed the system. That's where the first compost line is on my graph. And at that point in time, we had about 36% diversion in that building alone. We can keep track of each building by using the loadman system and all that stuff. And at that time, we were at 36%. Now we are getting close to 80%. So in 5 months' time, we have jumped, almost double our diversion rate at that one facility. So we've been learning a lot, but we definitely feel like we can get to the 88 if we use the same system of collection, the same system of management at the other buildings. Okay, so finally, we've done all this background, and now we can actually visualize what a compost yard could look like, or a zero waste yard could look like. So based on manufacturer specifications, our own dimensions and things of that sort, I actually did a SketchUp model for a couple days to actually visualize how high things need to be, where they need to be oriented roughly. This is the last thing, but we can actually start seeing how it becomes something that we would want to build. And then from this little model, we were able to do a full program for our zero waste building areas and things of that sort. As a client, we have consultants helping us, but as a client, we're supposed to understand and know what we want. And this whole process the last 2 years has been kind of this discovery process. What do we need to get to zero waste? And then so we were able to actually work this out. Another important thing is we actually were able to figure out how much room we would need on our pads and management and all those other things that if you're going to haul your own and manage your own materials that you need to know pretty well and be comfortable with. So in conclusion, I just wanted to make sure and kind of recap very quickly. Just the worst problems we had were when we were relying on assumptions in our planning process. And so I just want to make sure and say, do not assume that there are vendors nearby that are happy to take your post-consumer organics or any organics at all. You got to research it and make sure it is available. Even in the San Francisco Bay Area, you would be shocked. At your scale, do not assume that at your scale you cannot create a zero waste business model that manages your waste streams for the same costs or lower costs. We were really surprised that if we managed this better, we could probably be very close to our existing budget costs and at our scale. Everyone we talked to before we started this process said, you need to get big or small. You can't be at the size you want, the 17-person campus. Third, you need to make sure that you have good partners, like we said with Marina. They're going to save you when you really need them the most. And most importantly, I think make sure and appreciate your grassroots knowledge and the people that are helping you on your own team, because I cannot stress that enough how much they have been a part of our success so far. Okay, thank you.
So we're going to open it up to questions, but as the moderator and the one of my prerogatives, I get to ask the first question.
Nice.
So as a composter, what reason did the composters give you for not wanting a source-separated post-consumer stream to accept?
Sure. Contamination, number one. Two, most of them want to put it in an anaerobic digester and then compost it after the fact. And our stuff, usually most of the material in there does not help anaerobic digestion. It just kind of slows it down. Three, they were already overwhelmed with existing clients. Recology has a facility in Vacaville, but they just don't really have any more room for our type stream. Those are the three big ones. I don't know. Sometimes I think they just said no because they were just not. It was overwhelming to think about adding that to their existing operations.
Okay, because we handle 5 universities, so I was just curious
Cool.
why somebody would turn it down. Okay, everybody else gets a chance now. Go ahead. Can you repeat? I'm just going to interrupt 1 second. Can you repeat the question to make sure everybody
Sure.
in the back has heard it?
Yes.
Does it all go into a single stream after you separated it?
So we haul ourselves. Okay, so the question is, how do we handle our streams, our recycle streams on campus? So we are stubborn about our streams, and we were trying to make our students and users, staff, and faculty actually source separate. So we find that, no, we don't ever put it all back together. So we try to keep the paper as clean as humanly possible because we get much better money out of it if it's clean. Especially we get that white ledger that can go for $100 a ton, if it's clean. And we have our cardboard is source separated in dumpsters. That stays clean, and that makes it so we get the best dollar for that. Our container, so we collect all these mostly container recyclables in a single stream, you would say, but it's mostly like bottles, cans, and things of that sort. And we do sort that for CRV value. We get the CRV value out, and then we put everything else in another mixed kind of recycling dumpster and take that to a vendor. What else do we have? So no, everything, if it's been source separated, we never put it back together because we don't want to ruin it.
So you just have an hauler for landfill?
No, we self-haul everything.
Okay,
So we have 3 trucks. We have 3. I know this is some of the campuses do this, but it's kind of a different model, I guess. It's almost like a mini municipality or something. We do, and we can dump a refuse trip. We can have a truck go do a refuse route, go to the landfill, and then go do a cardboard route if we have a broken truck, right? But largely, we try to keep our trucks on their streams. We have a recycling truck, we have a cardboard truck, and a refuse truck. And most of the other recycling, like paper and the bin recycling, is done through the box trucks with a crew that actually moves the 30 to 90 gallon bins around.
And do you have a designated person to sell those commodities?
So we have one, I guess our equipment shop manager, superintendent, watches it and makes sure and tries to take it to the right places. We go to Castroville, we go south, or we go east to San Jose. We kind of it seems to ping pong back and forth based on best prices. He's on some kind of email list that gives him the best prices from everybody. So daily, he'll decide where they're going to go.
You mentioned you had
Sorry.
10 tons a day of organics to deal with. Is that right? And how many square footage was what's the ratio there? How big was your facility that you're building?
So right now we're around 30 to 5 tons a day. It seems to be growing because when we did the study, we were like right at 2 to 3 tons a day. But now we're already kind of growing because we're starting to add more. And our food waste actually increased. So we're like 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And especially if we add green waste. Right now we take green waste to a facility in Santa Cruz. So we're not, we want to put those all together and compost them together. So that's going to up our numbers too. So, so for a 10-ton facility, I can actually look at the numbers. So, you know, right now we do everything outside. We don't really have a building. We have all these, we have compactors and we have a bio bin, and then we take it directly to like Marina or the city, depending on what the material is. So none, really. That's why we need this, yeah. Good?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.